Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Chizarra Dashiell, Behavior Specialist, President and CFO, and Director of Special Populations here at Grow and Give Learning Corporation. Today, we will be discussing the importance of quality home-based education, cultural relevance, and addressing behavior within your community.
Hello, my name is Leroy Smith. I am the Director of Research and Instructional Design here at Grow and Give Learning Corporation. We are honored to be here with you tonight.
All right, let's get started. Intro. What is applied behavior analysis? Applied behavior analysis is the application of the principles of learning and motivation from behavior analysis, the scientific study of behavior. It is the study of the socially significant behaviors. So these behaviors look like behaviors that are occurring every day in your community, from tantrums or from just attending to everyday tasks. These are the behaviors that we focus on to help support individuals or children in their everyday settings. Here is just a slide just outlining the different levels in our field, from behavior therapists up until a doctorate level degree. Let's talk research. All right, in a study that I reviewed, it interviewed 53 parents whose children had received 2 years of ABA instruction, detailed in-person accounts perceived as benefits and pitfalls in a home-based learning environment. This article just gives an overall overview of the benefits of a particular procedure that was implemented under our intervention and its benefits. So what does this mean for your community? Education is for improving the lives of others and for leaving your community and world better than you found it. So the benefit of using ABA, now that we've had a little bit of a background, is one, children are honored for the cultural connections. So using their cultural connections or their background to honor that or to teach to specific skill sets. Examples of this would be using books or stories, anything of that sort also as well. This also can be used in developing reinforcements during implementation of tasks or activities. So meaning that using it as a reward or an incentive as you're actually teaching specific cultural contexts. Our second principle is pairing or developing positive interactions with parents, guardians, and or other specialists. So using the cultural context, pairing it with something that is positive. If that child actually enjoys, a specific song or they love basketball, using that to your advantage and to promote specific skilled acquisition. Our next principle is home-based learning areas are physically inviting. So having the area where that student is actually, or that child is actually learning at, that environment is actually inviting and rewarding for them, and they're eager to want to learn in that environment, and it's positive. So establishing, again, a reinforcement or reward system, establishing schedules, having token economies, which is another way of just reinforcing that behavior, and visual schedules, just to name a few. Our next principle is principle 4. Students are reinforced for positive behavior, recognizing the desired behaviors and decrease personal biases. So basically not using us as even parents or professionals, not using our own personal biases to reinforce or encourage positive behavior. Coming into looking at the behavior as we're teaching cultural context, teaching from an open-minded perspective. Our last principle is adjust instructional strategies to meet your child's needs and cultural styles. So whatever you are actually teaching your child, you're actually modifying it and adjusting it to specifically meet your child's needs. It's not something that has been specifically just not even tailored or reviewed by you, but it's actually specifically designed for your child and is effective. So, how does this impact us as parents and professionals? It impacts us because one, increased instructional control, in which we know that we need instructional control in order for us to teach any type of skill sets or task in the home setting. Two, decrease the undesired behaviors, which we already know that we definitely want to decrease those undesired behaviors. We want our student or our child to be able and to be open for all learning opportunities. And third, completion of more activities and or tasks. The more you build predictability, the more you can accomplish. So identifying and using those problematic or target behaviors and identifying them, and also then tailoring them or tailoring them so that they can actually increase more opportunities for activities or tasks in your home and community. I will now pass it on to my partner, Leroy Smith.
Good evening again, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are honored and have this amazing privilege to be here with you this year for the Sustainability Summit. And what we want to focus on now is how do we connect those themes and those principles of applied behavior analysis with our children with socially significant behaviors and move that into and infuse that into social emotional learning, or SEL, and cultural relevance, and how all of those things equal up to the total amount of parts as holistic learning. What does it mean for our children to have holistic learning? So let's first start off with one of the components that is deeply connected to applied behavior analysis, but has its own kind of realm that it serves as well. Now, when we think of applied behavior analysis, we're thinking about treatment, we're thinking about social significant behaviors. But when we're thinking about social emotional learning, we're also thinking about behaviors, but we're also teaching the behaviors, the positive behaviors we would like to see in the environment from our children and from the adults. So pretty much I'll read the first quote. The social emotional learning, SEL, is an integral part of education and human development. SEL is the process through which all young people and adults acquire and apply the knowledge, skills, and attitudes to develop healthy identities, manage emotions, and achieve personal and collective goals, feel and show empathy for others, establish and maintain supportive relationships, and make responsible and caring decisions. So there's a lot to unpack there. Simply, SEL is thinking about the totality of a person in their social and emotional context and how they are learning how to identify and be aware of themselves, others. How do they navigate through healthy and unhealthy relationships? How do they set goals for themselves to achieve those goals as both an individual and as a community? And how do they show empathy and manage their own emotions and feelings? So you're going to see and hear more about that throughout this. And this information comes from the Collaborative of Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning, or the CASEL network, which is the largest SEL organization in our country, in the United States. And we want to understand that SEL is built into any and all learning experiences. So now we have these beautiful children. And when we think about this and what it means for us, I'm going to try to play the video and see if it works. Let's see. Should take us to the video. And let's see, the video. Okay, so this is a brief, quick video about the competencies for SEL or social emotional learning.
Smith, can you make it larger?
About the young
Larger?
people in your lives and all the different places where they're learning about themselves, how to relate to others, and work together on goals. How can we intentionally create learning experiences that will help all young people develop and maintain positive relationships, become lifelong learners, and contribute to a more caring, just world? Educators, researchers, community members, families, and the students themselves agree what we need is social and emotional learning, or SEL. SEL is the process through which young people and adults acquire and apply the knowledge, skills, and attitudes that help us to understand ourselves, connect with others, achieve our goals, and support our communities. We all need opportunities to learn and engage in environments where we feel safe, valued, and a sense of belonging. So how does SEL help schools, families, and communities work together so that all young people have these kinds of learning experiences and achieve success in education, careers, and life? CASTLE's framework identifies 5 areas of competence that together help us develop a healthy sense of who we are, manage stress, understand the views of others, and work together to create schools and communities where everyone can grow their strengths and interests. Self-awareness is about how we think about ourselves and who we are. It includes understanding our culture, our thoughts, feelings, and what we believe we're capable of, and understanding how these things can influence our behaviors and beliefs. Self-management is the ability to manage those emotions, thoughts, and actions in different situations so that we can achieve individual and collective goals. This includes coping with stress and anxiety, persevering through challenges, and taking action to create positive change. Social awareness is how we understand others, how we learn to take different perspectives and empathize even with people who are different from us. It also includes understanding how the broader norms and systems around us influence how we develop and create a sense of belonging. Relationship skills are how we connect and engage effectively with others, and how we form lasting friendships and connections. This includes communicating clearly, solving problems together, managing conflict and disagreements, and standing up for ourselves and the rights of others. Lastly, responsible decision-making is how we put it all together to make caring and constructive choices. This includes thinking critically about consequences, analyzing the impact of our actions on ourselves and others, and identifying solutions that support our collective well-being. We continue to develop and practice SEL throughout our lives and can adapt and apply these competencies across different contexts and cultures. How we develop SEL is impacted by our environments, which is why we need to work together across classrooms, schools, families, and communities. In the classroom, students can be explicitly taught SEL skills and also can practice and apply SEL during core subjects, like discussing different perspectives in social studies and language arts, or collaboratively problem solving in science or math. SEL is most effective when supported by evidence-based programs and trusting relationships where students are treated as partners in their learning. Beyond the classroom, SEL can be intentionally promoted throughout the school experience, from the way they're greeted in the morning to how discipline practices are carried out and how adults themselves develop and model positive relationships and the SEL competencies. Outside of school, families and caregivers provide the earliest and ongoing learning and interactions for their children, so it's important that schools listen to and authentically partner with families to help shape SEL priorities and strategies for supporting their children. Similarly, when schools partner with community organizations to align their efforts, SEL opportunities can be strengthened and students benefit even more. With SEL, we can help create schools and learning spaces where all young people feel connected, inspired, engaged, and and ready to contribute to the world around them.
What can your child do with a Prodigy membership?
Thank you, everyone, for watching the video. We're going to move on. That was kind of like the holistic view of SEL from Castle. And now we're going to proceed on with trying to figure out how to actually do this. So we're looking at the competencies more closely. And I just want to say for the Sustainability Summit that this is not just something that starts in schools. As you see, it's within the communities, it's within families and caregivers. This is incumbent upon all of us in this work with our children and ourselves as adults to have a sustainable society. We must have people who have healthy mindsets, who have ways of problem solving, who have ways of understanding others and understanding themselves, building healthy and positive and long-lasting relationships to have that sense of belonging, and also making very important decisions for their lives and for others. So let's look at the competencies a little bit more closely. The first competency you see is self-awareness. It's all about understanding your own emotions, who you are, your identity. Then the next competency you see is self-management. How do you manage your own emotions and your thoughts? The next competency is social awareness. Are you aware of other people's perspectives and who they are, their backgrounds, their language, their cultures, and so forth? Relationship skills. How do you navigate healthy relationships, and how do you identify unhealthy relationships and navigate through conflicts? And how do you celebrate each other? And responsible decision making is about how do you set goals for yourselves to make healthy and responsible decisions that may be in the short term and in the long term. Now we're at cultural relevance. So we talked about social emotional learning. Now we're at the cultural relevance piece because we're tying these things together with the applied behavior analysis components to say, like, how do we get to a holistic point of learning? Because we know when our society is whole, when people are whole, we have a more sustainable society. So cultural relevance, I'll read a few quotes here from some of the research. Thus, culturally relevant pedagogy must provide a way for students to maintain their cultural integrity while succeeding academically. This is super important when we're thinking about sustainability in education, because our children need to maintain who they are, that's that self-awareness, but they also need to learn those responsible decisions of how they can succeed academically. Not only must teachers encourage academic success and cultural competence, they must help students recognize, understand, and critique current social inequities. This is that social awareness piece. And this is not only on the work of teachers that are in like a school, this is also on the work of families and caregivers in our societies, on how to critique the current structures of society that are not fair to specific groups of people. A culturally relevant pedagogy is designed to problematize teaching and encourage teachers to ask about the nature of student-teacher relationships, the curriculum, schooling, and society. So the whole purpose of this is to problematize. How do we get students to see the problems, address the problems in a healthy way, and do it in a way that's sustainable for their own health and the health of their communities? So we're going to briefly go over an SEL and culturally relevant exemplar from our curriculum. So here we have an ABA Grow Point, which is part of our ABA Infusion within our curriculum. This is from our Unit 3 of our ABA Infused Literacy curriculum. Here we said that once are things people like having, like toys and games. We said needs are things people must have in order to live, like food, water, and clothing and housing. On page 4, the author writes the question, can you guess what they'll bring? Molly, what gifts would you bring to Molly's birthday party that she would need and why? We're prompting this social awareness and responsible decision making about things that are actual needs that people might need. And so hopefully we'll hear the positive reinforcements. Thank you for telling me what gifts you can bring to Molly's birthday party that will meet her needs. And then we're going to remind our students, if they need scaffolding support, that that our needs are things that we need to survive, like food. And then ask kids, like, do you think someone might bring food just to stay alive? And then that positive reinforcement piece is saying, thank you for sharing. Thank you for being a part of community and adding and inputting your own thoughts in the ideas of what wants and needs are. So really connecting all those principles that Chizarra mentioned about ABA infusion, and also bringing that SEL component in while also maintaining the cultural relevance to the child that you're working with. Now, we don't have enough time to do the stop and jot, but we do want you to think about this. Is at this time, if you have a notepad next to you or a journal next to you, I want you to think in your homeschooling journey or in your schooling journey or whatever journey you're in a sustainability project for our children and communities in education. I want you to think about how you can make your curriculum or how you can design curriculum to be culturally relevant, to have elements of social and emotional learning and the principles of applied behavior analysis techniques that are infused. We want to specify here that our curriculum that we have that will be out shortly is not a treatment for therapy, but what it is, it provides a supplement for families and for schools and educational environments to have sustainable practices for our young learners that are ages 3 through 5. So take a moment and just jot to yourself, what is it that you want to do that's sustainable, that can and have this holistic approach with SEL, culturally relevant pedagogy, and these behavior principles that you've learned? You can pause the video at this time and jot. Our Q&A session will be available soon, and it'll be live when the Q&A sessions are available for everyone else and the other participants. I want you to think right now as you're viewing this recording, what questions do you have for Chizarra or I about applied behavior analysis for the principles that we have for the infusion, and how do you address socially significant behaviors in our community through our children and through our adults? And what questions do you have for me when it comes to holistic learning with socially and emotional learning and cultural relevance? At this time, write your questions down because we really want to honor your questions in the sustainability project. To wrap up, once again, my name is Leroy Smith. I am the COO, and I'm also the Director of Instructional Design and Research here at Grow and Give Learning Incorporated. And so, Chizarra, do you want to have any last words here for us?
Yes, I was just going to say, and yes, my name is Chizarra Dashiell. I am president and CFO and director of special populations within Grow and Give Learning Corporation. We are always eager to take in feedback and suggestions and questions. Always, always welcome. And so I hope you enjoyed this presentation as much as we enjoyed presenting it.
Thank you, everyone. Don't forget to check us out on our Instagram at Grow, Give, and Learn, and our website at growgiveandlearning.org to find out updates about new things we're going to do and some of the products that will be coming out soon. We hope to see you and hear from you very soon. As always, peace be with you and keep up the great work. Goodbye.
Bye now.